What we did today, to start off with, was have a costume parade. And the reason that we have a costume parade is so that we can not only see if all the costumes fit, if we have all of the right pieces for the costumes, and if they're ready, it also helps us see how they look all together and with each other. So that's a really useful thing to know, and it lets us know what changes need to be made. So I made sure I had a notebook and a pen with me when I was there to take any notes, and I also took down all of the costumes that I had been working on back to the costume room so I could so the cast could try them on. Um, we had the cast down in groups because the cast of Loserville is so large. It was better that way, as we could just do it in the costume room in the smaller groups, and these were the people who'd be seen together more, like Michael and Lucas in his group. So all of those core characters, along with Eddie and Leia and them. And then it was the core dancers, as a lot of their costumes are very similar. And then it was the ensemble, as a lot of theirs are very similar and they have similar changes. So that's really good to know. And then I went back to the studio to work on some of the things that we had found that needed doing. One of them was one of the glasses nerds skirts needed taking in, so I did that in the same way that I'd done the others, by making a box pleat. By folding the two sides in, it makes the skirt smaller, and because the skirt is pleated, it looks more normal than another way of making the skirt smaller. And then I also took up Eddie's trousers a bit by folding over the hem, which when we were doing the costume parade, I marked out how short it needed to be on the actor, so I knew that it was going to be sewn at the right length. And so I pinned all around that, and I hand sewed it using a herringbone stitch. That stitch is more stretchy, so it has more give to it, which is better for the kind of trousers that it was that were being used for his suit. And I think I have done this stitch previously, but not for a long time. So I wasn't as familiar with it as I would like to be, and it was quite confusing as you're going forwards by going backwards, which meant that I got confused a lot of the times, and I had to stop and take stock of where I was and redo parts. And I had to really think about it. So maybe it took me longer than I would have liked it to take me. And then after that, I sewed the some parts that were falling off one of the sci-fi convention costumes back on. This was on a blue boiler suit that was quite steampunky. There was a panel put down on the front where it had stitches in certain places, holding it together through holes that had been made in the material, because it was quite thick, because I did try to get my needle through it and I couldn't. So I just did several stitches in one place using the hole to go through, to make it hold as well as I possibly could, doing several. I also doubled up the thread, just to make it stronger. And I also did that because when I looked at the other parts of the costume, that was how the person who had made it had done it, and I wanted it to look the same as that. And also in the holes were made for split pins as well as to sew on, I assume, but it was also to have split pins in there as decoration. But it's quite hard to sew through the hole with the split pin in there, so I did take that out to give me space to get my needle through. And then I put it back in once I was finished. Something else I did today was I spray painted some pipe cleaners. The reason I did this was because I could only find black ones that we had, and I wanted them to be a bit more fun and a bit more sparkly for the sci-fi scene, as everything in there is quite silvery and quite playful, and the black was just a bit boring. So I spray painted over them in silver, and I then used them to decorate one of the helmets that we're using for the sci-fi convention scene by coiling it round a hot glue stick to give it a twirly shape and to decorate that. And I also looked at making a headband for the lead singer in the sci-fi convention scene. Um, she didn't really have one. I wanted to try and make it different to the cool dancers headbands, which were the the round plastic balls stuck on with pom poms added. Um, so I used some tinfoil pie dishes and then put the ball on top of them just to make it a bit taller, a bit grander, to show that she's maybe not necessarily more important, but yes, more um, more to be noticed than the core dancers, more of an individual. And then I also looked at adding a pipe cleaner to the top and making that a bit in more of a corkscrew, like I did with the ones for the hat. And I might look tomorrow morning at maybe adding a bit more to it because they I needed to wait for them to dry fully. That was a mistake I made, was I had to respray the headband with silver because I tried to put parts on too early before it dried and it lifted the paint up. So I had to redo that.